your plus 2. So you could actually take this and treat it like distributive property. Okay, so lots of different ways to do it. But again, you could cover up the plus 2 and treat it like distributive property, or just use FOIL, first outside, inside, last. My first 2 steps, I'm going to just treat as basically like the above question. So I'm going to take x and simply multiply into x plus 6. When I take x times x, and you know what, actually I'll use the same color, that way it's all nice and cohesive. I get x squared. Okay, and then when I take x times positive 6, very similar as above, I get plus 6x. Now, we have only technically dealt with the x. I check it off, I move on to the next one. This positive 2 is the next term. So I'm going to take it and multiply into both x and positive 6. For this one, I'll show my steps a little bit more just to kind of mirror the above question. So I know I have plus 2 times x. Okay. And I also have 2 times positive 6. Going a tad slower because I realized the blue, I kind of just all did at the same time. So the blue again is just the first set of multiplication with your x. Your purple is taking x plus 6 and multiplying by 2. So very similar. We get 2 times x, which is 2x. And then we get plus 2 times 6, which is 12. Okay, so half of my equation comes from the first term I multiplied in. The other half of the equation comes from the second, so from the purple. I'm hoping that the colors maybe help just kind of distinguish where you got different things from. Remembering it's always multiplication, so we're not doing 2 plus 6, we're doing 2 times 6. Okay, in the end, it's all added together, but you are essentially just multiplying pairs of numbers together. So, are we done? No, there's still one more step, and hopefully you remember from grade 10, we got 2 times 2 equals 4 terms. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, but we have 2 terms that are technically like. Like terms are same base, same exponent. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add up 6x plus 2x right here. Okay, so we are going to add those. When you have 6 of something, you add 2 more, you have 8. So technically you have 8x plus 12. Okay, and that's exactly how you would tackle that question. The last part is very similar to this one. So what if there's a number at the very front? What if we have something like this? So it actually looks very similar to the last one that we just did. However, we do have that 4 there. What we're going to do is we're going to start with ignoring the 4. We're just going to FOIL out as normal. And then we'll deal with the 4 at the very, very, very end. I'm going to do a very similar situation where I'm going to take this x, I'm going to show it being multiplied into the other x and the positive 3. And same thing, I'm going to take this positive 2, going to show it being distributed into the second bracket. My first part is x times x. Okay. And then I also go back, I re-multiply the x out, and I get x times positive 3. Okay. Going to switch over to the purple because I've now completed my multiplication of x. I check it off, and I move on to the next part. I then get plus 2 times x. I go back, I re-multiply 2 times 3. Something that I failed to include here, which I just noticed is a small mistake, this 4 is technically completely outside everything. So we are only dealing with the middle to start with. The 4 comes in at the very, very end. Notice how if we ignore the 4, it looks identical to the question above. So I'm going to keep working with my parameters. I am going to take x times x, and I already know that is x squared. I then have x times 3, it's 3x. I'm moving on to the next. I have 2 times x, which is 2x. And then I have 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay. I'm going to do the last step exactly as before. So I'm going to take the 2 middle terms and add. If I have 3 of something, I add 2 more. I'm going to have 5. I'm using a square bracket just to distinguish because we have a lot of different sets of brackets. So it's mostly there just as an aid. All right. And the last part, I'm going to now take that 4 and distribute in as well. I'm only going to do this when I'm left with a simple trinomial, so x squared plus 5x plus 6. I'm going to take that 4 and multiply in. What I have now is I have 4 times x squared, which is 4x squared. I have 4 times positive 5x. 4 times 5 is 20. And I leave the letter part alone. I go back to the 4. I redistribute again. I have 4 times 6, which is 24. And that is your final answer. So again, does not feel simplified, but we work with what we have. Okay? So hopefully this helps just when you're working on your expansion piece.